Not at all.
And he's sharing something he's never been public about. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being with me here today. I am very pumped and excited because I have a special guest. I have Rune from Gryphon Audio. Very excited to have you here in my home today, Rune.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. It's long time coming, excuse me.
Yeah.
But glad that you got to hear my system. You got to see this marvelous beast at 450 pounds. And we got to hear the commander. We got to hear my Lampesator Horizon DAC and many other things, of course.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Let's talk about the Apex. And it indeed is a huge elephant, okay? I want to get right into it. As you know, I've owned every single Gryphon amplifier currently in production. So I am very well aware of what the brand does. Sonically speaking, I know every amplifier that you have does things differently. All the way back to the Coliseum, an amplifier that I love dearly, unfortunately has been retired. And Apex today, an amplifier that has blown me away in every way possible. I have had a lot of people come in and audition this amplifier, and everyone has been extremely, extremely impressed. Okay, tell me a little bit about what led to this massive amplifier, if you had any fears along the way of something this big perhaps being rejected by a lot of audiophiles, because I'll be honest with you, as you all have seen by now, I've had a difficult time getting this monstrosity in here. I had three friends plus me lifting it to make sure that we're safe, right? And so I wonder, did you ever have, you and your team, any fear along the way when you were building this and you saw the finish, the first one, the prototype being so massive?
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually think even when our founder, Mr. Rasmussen, made the drawings for it, I think he was also a little bit concerned about, is this too much? Is it over the top? But the goal was, because we asked Tom, our chief engineer, or we actually encouraged him to take the time to build the best possible amplifier, in his mind, imagination, what he, do the best you can. Don't think about the time frame. Don't think about the cost of development. You have to do your very best. Your very best at no cost. And it was the same with the Commander preamplifier that we see behind us. So, but even just seeing the drawings and it was just like, shit, it's monstrous. But I think it was first when we saw it being put together next to the Mephisto that we realized that we have created, almost to use the Metallica thing, some kind of a monster. It was humongous. It was just like, shit, what have we done?
That it is.
And at the R&D department, when they had to put two special rolling tables together, build them together to be able to work on the amplifier, that showed us, okay, this will take, it will require some certain skills, both in terms of service and support, and also with all our partners out there in the world. Because at their service facilities, and what if something happens and they need to bring it back and forth between the client and the service facility and so on. It was just like, whoa, what are we going to do? So I think that the engineering team, they came up with some cool ideas where the whole sidebar, everything is mounted on the sidebar, and you got small hinges. So it actually just flips the whole side down with everything mounted on it. So it gives you a very easy access to service and to work on the amplifier if needed. if needed, of course. Hopefully we don't need that. But we had to come up with some ideas so it's easier to work around the amplifier. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it is huge, and in some houses it can't go through the door, and especially not in the crate.
No.
It's
the crate is,
yes.
Then
it's impossible.
It's a big, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So even though we came up with some brilliant ideas, I think with this special low friction fabric that you just slide the amplifier.
I saw that.
One guy can do it.
Yep.
Easily with one hand. It's so slippery that it's easy to get it out.
That was genius, that idea.
But yeah, it has given a little bit of headaches now and then, and in some countries, when it has to go up to second or third floor, and there is no elevator, they have built a sledge where it can be on, and then they pull it, a couple of guys on top of the stairs and someone behind it, and they pull it on the sledge and so on. So, it creates, and it also makes people creative.
Yeah. I will be very honest. I thought you guys made it this big so people can't sell it once they buy it. People can't get rid of it. So I think, what? Once they put it in place, it's not going nowhere. They're not going to embark on selling it, and it will be there for a while, for a long time. But I must say that there has been a wow factor when I look at this, and whenever I invite someone to look at the masterpiece, the incredible real estate that this unit provides. And I was very vocal and honest about the fact that for $104,000, right? That's what the current MSRP it is, okay? For $104,000, it includes 2 aftermarket power cords from their own brand, okay, which you have never done before in other amplifiers, with other amps.
Never,
okay.
And it is the top of the line power cords that we're using.
The Vanta.
It's the Vanta.
Right, so you include that with the amp and the preamplifier, which also uses 2 power cords. And so for $104,000, yes, I understand you're about to start complaining that I'm here talking about madness and amps that are $100,000. Well, my channel is about the ultra high end, okay? So let me get that out the way. So when I think about what you offer for $104,000, the real estate, the power cords as well, I think that's putting indirect pressure on other brands that have flagship components. And they now have to go up against what you produce. In my opinion, and I've said it before, anytime you create a brand new product and you're putting a specific price point, you need to look at who you're sitting next to. You need to look at that shelf you're going to be sitting next to. Because I'm telling you right now, if you for 1 second think that BMW does not look at Mercedes-Benz, you're crazy. If you think Mercedes-Benz is not looking at BMW and what they're doing, you're crazy. They have to be competitive. Do you think it's coincidence that their cars, their entry-level sedans are more or less the same price point? It's no coincidence. That's the reason why this is happening. They're looking at features, they're looking at GPS, they're looking at the quality of the seats. They want to make sure they're beating that next product. Well, I'm telling you right now, for $104,000, you got a hell of a raise in your hands, manufacturers. I don't work for Gryphon. Gryphon is not here to give me a paycheck. They're not here to support me. They're not here to sponsor me. Okay? We simply had an amazing time listening to my system, and I figure, why not make a video? I asked him. I didn't even tell him he was going to be on camera. I grabbed him and I asked, would you mind being on my channel and talk some? He says, sure, why not? So that's why we're doing this. So the reason why I'm highlighting this and the reason why I'm talking about the Apex is because I've owned a lot of other amplifiers around the same price point, and I don't recall them having as much, not just sonically, but also the actual body of work, the component itself. It makes you just stop dead in your tracks when you look at it. Okay, so one question I have for you that I want to make sure people get an answer for is, are you displaying at Expona in 2024? Are we going to finally hear the Apex with the Commander?
Hopefully we will play it. There is no 100% agreement that we will play Apex and Commander. We will be present definitely in 2 rooms. no doubt. So there will definitely be a playing room and a static display.
Awesome. Hopefully, yeah.
So how we gonna address it and what we want to show, we have an idea, yes.
Okay.
Everything is on the drawing board. And then people just have to wait and see what we will come up with for the Exponer, because who knows what will happen at Exponer.
Yeah.
We have discussed it earlier today, Jay, that the American market, all of North America, has become extremely important to Gryphon. It wasn't in the past, definitely not. We had very little traction. I would say we were kind of an esoteric brand.
You were.
And a lot of people, they didn't know about us, or maybe we were maybe for the very typical audiophile, a known brand, but for people outside that scope, no one knew anything about Gryphon. What is Gryphon? And when you said, "Oh, I'm working with Gryphon Audio Designs," what is that? And that has changed. The perception of the brand has changed a lot. And today, the U.S. market is significantly. It has increased in size significantly.
Can we share with them real quick what you told me about the U.S. being?
Yeah, today, U.S. is the second largest market for Gryphon. And that
Second. That was not the case before.
No, not at all.
And he's sharing something, first being China.
Yeah, absolutely. China, Hong Kong has, since 1986, been the biggest market for Gryphon. But now...
Does J Audio have to do with this now? The U.S. moved up to the second spot as far as Gryphon sales? I don't know. It'd be interesting to know if I have something to do with that, don't it? Okay. One of the things I can say is I feel that you, to your point, you started in 1985. The company was founded in 1985. It's taken you a while to penetrate the U.S. market. And I think that is a combination of things. Number one, of course, the product has to deliver. Number two, reliability. Okay, key component. I can't say every brand I've owned has been reliable. I'm going to go on the record and say this on camera. I have never, ever had a Gryphon component fail me. Not one. And I've owned a lot of them, as you know. Not one has it ever gone bad, didn't turn on, didn't sound good, it broke down in the middle of a listening sessions, not once. And so that also helps to create more traction. And last but not least, the fact that you guys have service centers in the United States is absolutely crucial. The audiophile, the American audiophile, does not want to be shipping stuff overseas for repair.
Nope. And we don't want that either.
It will do you as a manufacturer if you're expecting us to send stuff overseas to get repaired. I hope you're selling a 5-pound box that's cheap to ship. Because if you're expecting us to grab massive chassis and ship them overseas for repairs, you are not going to last here in the U.S. I promise you this. You've got to get service centers.
Yeah. And it has been very, very important for us. And luckily, we have a couple of very, very good skilled service centers. And they work closely together with our service department in Denmark. So they are in constant dialogue, and they have access to all the files, all the schematics and so on. And especially so on Vitrop, who's actually a Dane. But he's based in Chicago. And he has been to the Gryphon factory talking to the guys and so on. And he's been repairing Gryphons for years, even without our knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's super skilled at it, and he's running this phenomenal service facility for us. And it gives us a lot of confidence, and I think it also gives us security for the end users, knowing that it's not just a second tier service center, but it's a really authorized service center that is supplied with correct parts, with the right schematics, having the straight, the direct contact to our headquarter.
Right.
So it just becomes an extension of the Gryphon headquarter in Denmark, which is very, very key for us. So I think there are several factors that goes into this equation why Gryphon has grown so much in US. Also,
No doubt. Yep.
Also our way of market the brand here. The close collaboration with our sales and marketing director for North America, Anthony Sciorella.
I want to put the brand itself aside for a second, and I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen a lot of interviews online with different magazines, different publications, whether you are talking about amplifiers, preamplifiers, or new releases, but I have seen very little about you. And I think my viewers would like to know is, tell them what you did for a living before you got into audio.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to be a